Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video, and we have finally reached the end of Extreme Challenge Quest. This has been 12 videos now of this, and I did not expect to make 12 videos, or 12 extra videos in the month of September for this, but it is content, and it is something to do, and it did make me use old teams and free-to-play teams, units I don't normally use very often. So it's been a nice little refresh about where the game was at the point in time and where we are now and how much I really appreciate the power creep. But the final stage, the Dark Lizard Extreme wants us to use a light magic team. However, the missions say otherwise, because they want us to use 220 skill points. So this is very clearly built for the Light 3.0 stacking meta with Light Raphael. But it also has a mission with all physical characters. And if we look, there is no stage for the original Light 2.0 meta. This team right here, this was the guard team for Light 1.0. So Light 2.0 with the brides should have been right here. Right? Yeah, right after the... No. Right here. After the win... Or before the win stage, after the half anniversary. And they didn't get one. So now they've kind of combined both the Light 2 and 3 teams into this fight. The Dark Lizard has 343k HP. Alright, it's a little bit higher than the others. Not very high stats, though. Nerfs oranges, nerfs blues, surprisingly, which they want us to use a blue stacking team if we want to use 220 skill points in one turn. But the Light 3.0 team doesn't really care about that, so let's just go ahead and jump in. Alright. Light Shuna, still a fairly good stacking protector when everything's said and done, if you can stun and pierce. Raphael, still a fairly good unit. A lot of people got him for free a couple months ago during the free login. Light Milim has her own convert and attack buff, light resistance down. Free-to-play Soka has the special convert. We're going to bring Water Shuna for the orange convert and the alt buff, and then Lumi has the green buff, the light attack, and since we need to stun, and currently it has 100% stun resistance, Lumi will be able to lower that with her skill after 8 turns. So we will be able to stun. Okay, this team is actually really easy to use. It's a very well-built team, and it can still do pretty good damage for being a very old 5-star only team. No EX characters, no alt swapping to do here, because that didn't exist at the time. This is just raw damage and stacks. And we do get a pretty lucky turn, too. It's just we don't have any Raphael orbs. But I do want to go to turn 8, so we can see the full power of Light Raphael. Obviously, once we get 220 points, we could just use 220 points and kill. Like, it wouldn't be difficult to do with the low amount of HP that this thing has. But because I don't get to use this team all that often in its entirety, I do want to see how it holds up nowadays. A year and a half later, almost 2 years later, and maybe not 2 years, but you know what? It's an old team, and it was a very good team. It really introduced the damage of power creep because the first anniversary was just a few months prior, and they did 500,000 damage, and then the Light 3.0 team came out, and you got this. And while the skill fusions certainly make it a little bit better, it doesn't really increase the damage all that much. Raphael just now gives the stun strike to everybody plus a few others. The Lumi skill fusion just changes, changes her orb change to 3 orbs, which I don't like. Shuna, she has a skill fusion, which again hurts her skill or her orb change. I don't like it. And Light Milim lowers light resistance against everybody except instead of one single enemy, like, ooh, whoop-de-doo. So skill fusions for this particular build have not really impacted our total damage output. So it is almost the same as what we were seeing when it first came out. And it's still, like I said, pretty good. So we're already at half health, we're on turn 4. We don't quite have an alt for Raphael yet, but we do have 4 more turns to go before we get there. And this hand looks a bit unfortunate, but we can work with it as long as we get a little bit lucky on orb RNG, which we do. So we're going to use the orb change from Shuna first, and thankfully it didn't hit her orb on the right, which means we can bring Lumi in, and then use the buff from Shuna, and then send her away, and then we can pull that blue orb, and then we just have one orange left, which Sokka can convert. And even if we had brought, even if we had left Lumi out and we just brought Milim in, we could have changed that Shuna orb anyways, because Milim has her own convert. But now we're very close to an ult for Raphael, and now we just need to go to turn 8 so we can actually use Lumi's light buff and stun resistance down. That's the key point of that, is we have to go to turn 8 if you want to use the stun resistance. But if you want to nuke early, because you don't want to do this in 8 turns, and you want to just get 220 points and use it, you just use the light buff. I mean, it's still a light buff. It doesn't care what turn that's activated. And then you could use the pierce power and alt resist, or the pierce rate and alt resistance down, and then some other skills to get you to 220, and that would work just perfectly fine. So, sending 6 blues here, we'll have turn 7 coming up, and we don't need to do anything. We have 300 points, much, much more than 220. We have enough skills to use everything available, so again, not a big deal, and we're just going to burn these 3 oranges out. Yeah, we have 380 points, my bad. I'm 2 stacks behind, apparently. Alright, just sending the oranges. If we didn't have an ult for Raphael, we do now. And 294 means that we have enough to use everything. So, alt buff with Shuna. Not that skill. And then we'll bring in Milim. We'll bring in Lumi. We'll use everything. We'll bring in Milim first. So that's a 45% attack buff and 30% light resistance down? Yeah, 30%. And then Lumi comes in. We'll use her light buff. Now it's awakened, so now we can stun. And then we do stun. We give our guaranteed pierce. We give our alt resistance down. We get the stun strike. And we're just going to send Raphael. And he does 1.1 million damage. That's pretty good for an old team full of non-EX characters. No other EX supports, no Violet with 100% magic attack or anything like that. It's just old characters doing 1 million damage. Free and easy. I like it. Alright, so we got the 220 skill point mission out of the way. Now it's time to do the full physical team mission. And we're going to use the Light 2.0 team, as we mostly ran it back in the day. Bride Shizu, changing 3 oranges and 3 blues to 6 greens, 10% ult damage, but more importantly, pierce rate. The hero, the rewind skill, would come in handy normally if we were going to use another 55-point buffer, but we're bringing Daggerel instead. And then guaranteed crits. Light Rimuru, pierce resistance down, single orb change, protection gauge for the first couple of turns. Light Shinsha, free-to-play unit, a little bit of a light buff. Xion, our DPS character, and then Daggerel can steal orbs. Another one of those rare orb-stealing characters, so we can hopefully give a bunch of orbs to Bride Xion and have her ult ready on turn 2. Alright, well, I mean, I was looking for a turn 1 orb steal, but 5 blues will work just as well, because that guarantees us that we get quite a bit of protection gauge here, so let's just go ahead and send it, and then maybe next turn we can get a couple of orbs for somebody. It doesn't even need to be 4 of them, because we're going to use Xion, or Shizu, and we get an even spread, so okay, whatever. Let's use the rewind for funsy onesies, and then we will bring in Daggerel to steal some orbs from, I guess, the hero. And yoink, boom. That also does something else, right? Oh, it gives him attack. It gives his orbs attack, which doesn't matter because he's not going to be... he's not here anymore. So, Shizu. Every time we use a skill, by the way, Shizu gets more pierce rate, and Xion gets more pierce power. Now, my Xion is skill fused, which means that her starting pierce power is higher than what an unskill fused Xion is. So I'm going to be at like 58 to 60-something% pierce power. If yours is level 80 and not skill fused, you'll be at like 40 or 30, high 30%. It's not that big of a deal, to be perfectly honest. We do want to use a bunch of skills here. So let's do the orb change, pierce resistance down skill. That leaves us 17 points, but we've already swapped out everybody else. And yeah, we'll just use Shizu again. We should get another use of her, and then we'll be ready to nuke next turn. So very, very quick. Max points, yeah. And then we just use the crit from the hero, the light debuff from Daggerel, and then the pierce power attack buff from Xion. And that should be all we need to do. Maybe the light buff from Shinsha if we have enough points. I don't actually know if we do, but we can take Rimuru out of here. We've used his resistance down skill. It's still active. So guaranteed crits. Oh, we're not going to have enough points to do everything. Okay, well, let's do the light buff then. And then, so we use that, and then Xion is up to 64% pierce power. Again, if she's not fused, you'll be lower than that. And we're up to a 115% chance to pierce. Not that it really matters after 100, but sure. And then this will either immediately kill, or the follow-ups will. It immediately killed. 202,000 damage right there. So you could go to turn 8 with the Light 3.0 team for funsies onesies. You could use this Light 2.0 team and it'd be much faster. But obviously cannot use 220 skill points in a single turn. Either one of them work. They kind of want you to use both teams for both missions. That's great. I like this team too. Let's use the free-to-play team now. Okay. Free-to-play team, we're going to use the Visions of Coleus, free-to-play Satoru, Protector, Warrior's Mind, Xion, Orb Change. Romris is our quote-unquote DPS character, being light. She has an Orb Change. Misery can convert either her or Diablo's orbs that are oranges and their alts. Gobta, Green Orb Change. He can change anybody's alt to a blue. And then Diablo can give away his own orbs to someone else and buff his own orbs. He's not really that useful, but at least he's another primal demon that we can kind of try and make work with Misery. Satoru gives everyone guaranteed synergy, so while it's not a stacking buff by any means, it does mean that at least everybody gets to do slightly more damage. Because I tried to run this with Commander Xion, who gives Weakness Strike, but that literally only applied to Romris, and it didn't really... But no, it doesn't do anything else for any other character on the team. And what's the other protector? Like, there are others you can use. It's just that this is what I found to be the easiest, and I think we got to like turn 13 or something with this team. It's by no means great. I'm running a heal charm on Satoru because we're here for a long time, and we do start to take damage after he counters us and ults us and AoEs us, so we just want to make sure that everyone is topped up the entire time. But since we are stacking, we can get to 220 skill points, which means we can fulfill that mission eventually. Eventually being the key word. We do need a bit of luck, and there are some turns in here where we don't have good hands, and I just decide to send it, because the ults need to go away. Yes, they do damage, but it's not like we're waiting to stack up for big time mommy damage or anything. So here we alt swap just because I want blue orbs. The beginning of the fight is rough because you want stacks of Satoru to get extra skill points. So I don't want to like deny myself those stats. I need those skills. And right now, our skills are cheap. Once we get deeper into the fight, alt swapping may not be nearly as viable, because at that point, they're going to cost 45, 55, 75 points, or whatever, how the math works out. And that's a bit too expensive, unless I'm distinctly and intentionally trying to go for a 220-point turn, which we do, but we're only at 140 right now as our cap, so we're nowhere close. But being the final clip of the final stage of EX Challenge Quest, I can say that this is fun content, quote unquote. Making 12 videos for it and 3 clips apiece, 36 voiced over clips is not what I had on my menu for this week, but here we are. It's kind of unfortunate that they don't allow you to use EX characters. I would have preferred that they drop these stages with higher HP thresholds, but not restrict the teams. Because again, a lot of players nowadays don't have all these free-to-play characters. They have to be rerun, or they don't have the old 5-stars because they haven't played for very long and they weren't around when they were a big thing. They only have been pulling for EX characters, and by taking literally the last almost 2 years of the game away, things get a little dicey. Year and 8 months. Things get a little dicey. So I see what they're going for. It is content. I personally, have enjoyed using these old teams because it really takes the nostalgia trip back to when I first started the game and, you know, using Dark 1.0 and Fire 1.0. Like, these were some interesting times for the game, and it has made me realize how far the channel has come and how far I've come as a creator. Even if my content really hasn't evolved all that much, we still don't edit barely anything. I still make content on this very small game that not a lot of people care about in the grand scheme of things. But I appreciate what the channel has done for me, what you guys have done for me as viewers, and I'm gonna keep doing it because it's a hobby and I need something to do with my time. Otherwise, God, you know how bored I'd be? You know how absolutely fucking bored I'd be if I didn't have this? No thank you. I'd have to go talk to people or something. I'd rather just talk to my computer and pretend I'm talking to people. Oh, okay. Well, we're on turn 9. He's actually pretty low on health. When I was running the Commander Shion team, we were nowhere close. We were at like half health, if not higher than that on this, because only Romorus did more damage. And there are a lot of turns, even in this run, where we don't have Romorus orbs. So if we don't have Romorus orbs, we're not doing any additional damage using the Commander Shion Protector. So not a huge thing that I want to do here. But we're going to alt swap away this turn. I don't think we use 220 skill points here. Someone can go back and check the math. I don't really care. I do intentionally like make a cut because I paused to do math on the calculator to figure out what I need to use when I have enough points to actually do it. So probably not this turn. I think it's the next turn because we're only up to 195 points. Like, we have to be at 220 to actually use 220. So we're gonna, I think, just send these alts. That gets us to 207. So, okay, not next turn. The turn afterwards. So turn 13 is when I can actually get the challenge done for 220 skill points. Because we're just gonna send these green orbs. This will give us enough to get over the what are we missing? 13 points? Yeah. So we're at 236 now. So now we have the capability of doing 220 in a turn. We have 2 ults. He's fairly low on HP. I don't have Satoru, unfortunately. So we make the cut. I do the orb change. I do the crit buff. So that's already 85, 90, 110 points. And then we're going to use the orange convert, even though there's no oranges, because it's points. And then we'll bring Diablo in and use both of his skills. And that will put us down to 26. And we had 236? Wait, did I math wrong here? I don't think I mathed wrong here. We had 237. We need to use... oh, I think I messed up. Okay, well, whatever. Oh, math is hard. All right, we may have not actually hit 220, but you know what I was going for. We had the capability, maybe. But there is the free-to-play team for the final stage of EX Challenge Quest, ignoring my stupidity. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this 12-video series. If you have any other teams that can clear this, put them down in the comments. But that's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I'm going to stop recording now.